This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Alright, and welcome to the GSMC Sports Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network, and as always, I'm your host, Jesse Tapia. Alright, today's show we're going to be talking NBA games for Wednesday. Celtics finally snapped that 4-game losing streak. Let's see what else went on yesterday. Jazz beat the Pistons in double overtime. We'll talk a little bit about that. Talk about the rest of the games that went on. Ben Simmons, his triple-double. And we're also going to talk about... We're going to be talking about Dez Bryant and the Cowboys. There's not really too much going on over there, but I mean, there's something brewing over there. I feel like something weird. Like, because I think it was on one of their team podcasts. Stephen Jones, the VP, went out and was talking a little bit about Dez Bryant, talking about how he really hasn't been what they've wanted him to be since he signed his big contract. How his sideline outbursts are a distraction. And then you got when Jerry Jones was asked about Dez Bryant, if he's going to be back next season, he said he was pretty much talking like about everyone on contract instead of saying, yeah, Dez Bryant, he's going to be back. Because, you know, Dez Bryant is a big part of that team, but he really hasn't delivered completely since he got his contract. All right, so we'll be doing that. We'll be talking about Kirk Cousins a little bit. Let's see. I think there was someone else I want to talk about. Maybe Alex Smith, I think it was. Something, but I can't remember. We'll also be talking a little soccer, too. You know, soccer doesn't get too much love on this podcast. I mean, it probably gets more love than hockey ever does, but nonetheless, we're going to be talking some soccer maybe for the third segment, or we might save it for the fourth. Depends. And then for like that fourth, if we do talk soccer, we're also going to be talking about anything else going on in the world of sports. So, let's get into it right now. We had the Boston Celtics facing off with the LA Clippers in the Staples Center. Boston on a back-to-back in this game, and they pulled it out. Finally snapped that 4-game losing streak. If you remember on, what was yesterday? Wednesday? Yeah, Wednesday's podcast. I did pick Boston to lose, but nonetheless, I mean, like I picked them to lose, all right, and it was, I was going through my day and stuff, and then I see that Al Horford's going to be out, and Marcus Smart cut his hand at the team hotel. I got stitches on that, and he wasn't going to play either. And then I saw that DeAndre Jordan, he was going to be playing finally back from his sprained ankle injury. And I was like, yeah, there's no way Boston's winning this game. Haven't been playing well. Your best center's out. Their best center's coming back. No Marcus Smart. So obviously, Clippers win this one, right? No, they lose. Boston wins this one 113-102. Marcus Morris had 15 points. 15 points, shot 5 of 13, 3 of 9 from the three-point line. Jason Tatum finally picks up off of his little slump. He had 18 points, 6 rebounds, shot 7 of 16. Aaron Baines, 12 points, 6 rebounds, shot 6 of 8. Kyrie Irving, he had 20 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. Great game from him. He shot 7 of 16. Jaylen Brown still not shooting the ball well. Only 9 points, 8 rebounds, 2 of 10. And then you had Semi Ojeleye with 8 points off the bench. You had Terry Rozier with 15 off the bench, also shooting 4 of 10. He was really clutch down in the second half. Daniel Tice also played well in this one. He had 8 points, 8 rebounds, shot 2 of 4. He did have a lot of trouble guarding guys like Blake Griffin down low in the post, but I mean he did, I guess, his job well enough to where the Celtics could be successful. But I feel like he's got I know he's a rookie, he's only 25, but I feel like, I don't know, Tice, he's kind of a weird player now. He contributes, but he's really not a good low post defender, I feel. But, I mean, that's just my opinion. Talking about the Clippers, we had Blake Griffin with 23 points, 5 rebounds. He shot 8 of 21. Wesley Johnson had 10 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, shot 4 of 7. DeAndre Jordan, his first game back, 15 points, 14 rebounds, shot 4 of 5. Milo Teodosic had 2 points, 6 assists, shot 1 of 6. Not a good game from him. Montrezl Harrell off the bench, he had 10 points, 7 rebounds, shot 4 of 7. Lou Williams, he had 20 points, 7 assists. Really wasn't shooting the ball too well. Had shot 6 of 18, but was getting to the line enough to where he could contribute. So I guess a little below average game from Lou Williams, but nonetheless he contributed. So like I said, I mean, DeAndre Jordan coming back in this one, and no Al Horford, no Marcus Smart. I felt like this was going to be Boston's 5th loss in a row. But I mean, they completely did a 180 right here as far as playing on offense. I mean, they were spacing out a whole lot better. They were sharing the ball a whole lot more. Kyrie Irving was driving in, but then he was dishing it out after. So, I mean, they played well. Hopefully they can sustain this going forward, but I mean, it's going to be difficult. I think they got the Warriors on Saturday. Not sure if they have a game before that. I doubt it, honestly. I'd have to double check, but nonetheless, Celtics snapped their 4-game losing streak and looking to build off of that. As for the next game, we had the New Orleans Pelicans facing off with the Charlotte Hornets. New Orleans won this one 101-96. You had Anthony Davis with 19 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, shot 7 of 16. DeMarcus Cousins 16 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, shot 5 of 10, 2 of 5 from the three-point line. Rajon Rondo played 15 minutes in this one. He had 9 points, 5 assists, shot 4 of 8. Then you had Drew Holiday with 19 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, shot 8 of 15. As for the Hornets, you had Marvin Williams. He dropped in 14 points, 14 rebounds, shot 6 of 14. It's a lot of 14s right there. And then you had Dwight Howard with 22 points, 16 rebounds, shot 9 of 16. Kemba Walker, not a great shooting night from him. Only 20 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 8 of 21 shooting. And then off the bench, you had Frank the Tank Kaminsky with 16 points, 5 rebounds. He shot 4 of 6 and hit a 3 in the game. Still waiting on, I'm not sure yet if Kemba Walker, it's kind of up in the air if Kemba's going to end up getting traded at the deadline or if he's going to pretty much stay put with the Wizards. Or not the Wizards, the Hornets, excuse me. Michael Jordan came out and said that Kemba wasn't going to be traded, but I mean, I'm not sure how much we could trust that. I think Jordan is he's obviously the owner, but I think he works with the player operations and all that. So, I mean, you could take what he's saying with a grain of salt, I guess, because executives like to say it sometimes just to build up trade value, or maybe he's just telling the truth. But nonetheless, I mean, I'm not sure where a guy like Kemba Walker would end up. I've been seeing the Knicks a little bit. You see the Cavs from time to time as far as a destination for Walker. I mean, if you were to go to the Cavs, that'd be an upgrade right now over Isaiah Thomas. I mean, the way he's been playing has been pretty poorly. He hasn't gotten his legs back yet, it's looking like. I mean, but Kemba Walker on the Cavs actually would be a really good fit, but I'm assuming you'd have to give up a guy like Isaiah to get him. So we'll see how it all ends up. Next up, we got the Utah Jazz, who faced off with the Detroit Pistons in Detroit. Ooh, I didn't even notice, but Detroit is currently under 500. Utah won this one 98-95 in overtime. You had Derek Favors with 8 points, 10 rebounds, shot 4 of 11. Donovan Mitchell, 15 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, shot 6 of 21. Rudy Gobert with 15 points, 8 rebounds, shot 6 of 13. And then you had Joe Ingles with 13 points, 7 assists, shot 5 of 10. For the Detroit Pistons, Andre Drummond went off in this one, 30 points, 24 rebounds, shot 11 of 17. Probably had it in the back of his mind about that All-Star snub that he didn't make it. Then you had Tobias Harris with 13 points, 3 rebounds. He shot 6 of 17. Stanley Johnson struggled to shoot in this one as he has his entire career. He had 7 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, shot 3 of 12. Avery Bradley struggled shooting in this one, 6 points, shot 3 of 11. And let's see, off the bench, you had Ish Smith with 14 points, 6 of 17 shooting, and Luke Kennard with 10 points, 10 rebounds, shot 3 of 9. I didn't get a chance to watch this game because I was watching the Clippers and Celtics one, but I could already tell. I mean, even if it was an overtime game, it must have been a brutal game. I mean, 98-95 in an overtime game doesn't sound too fun. So shout out to all those people who sat through this game and watched it through its entirety. Excuse me. Next up, we had the Phoenix Suns heading into Indiana, facing off with the Pacers. The Pacers won this one 116-101. For the Suns, you had T.J. Warren with 10 points, 2 rebounds, shot 5 of 12. Then you had Tyler Ulis with only 5 points in this one. Devin Booker, 19 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, shot 5 of 16. Not a good shooting night from him. Looking like it wasn't a good shooting night for a lot of good players in this league as far as yesterday goes. You had Josh Jackson, the rookie, off the bench, though, with 20 points, shot 7 of 11, 2 of 5 from the three-point line, did bring in 2 rebounds, 2 assists. That might have been his best shooting game of the season so far. You had Greg Monroe with 16 points, 17 rebounds, shot 7 of 11. Great game from him off the bench. Then you had Troy Daniels with 19 points, 5 of 10 shooting. Actually, he shot 5 of 10 from the three-point line. That's where all his shots came from, so that's how that went. As for the Indiana Pacers, you had Thaddeus Young with 22 points, only 3 rebounds, but did shoot 10 of 13. Bojan Bogdanovic has 17 points, 7 rebounds, shot 6 of 9, 3 of 5 from the three-point line. Domantas Sabonis continues his good season, 19 points, 8 rebounds, shot 8 of 12. And then you had Victor Oladipo with 21 points, 4 rebounds, 9 assists, shot 6 of 11. Didn't get to watch this game, but I'm looking at the stat sheet right now. Did James Young start at point guard yesterday? The James Young, the first Celtics pick, or the first Nets pick that came with for the Celtics. If that was him, he did have 6 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, shot 3 of 7. But once again, the Indiana Pacers beat the Suns 116-101. Then the Bulls headed into Philly. As you know, I made I picked the Bulls as my pick for that game. Didn't work out very well. Overthought it. Philly won this one 115-101. For the Bulls, you had Lauri Markkanen with 12 points, 3 rebounds, shot 5 of 13, 1 of 5 from the three-point line. Robin Lopez, 2 points, only 6 rebounds, shot 1 of 6. Zach LaVine, 21 points, 7 rebounds, shot 8 of 15. Justin Holiday, only 2 of 11 shooting, 5 points in this one. Off the bench, you had Nikolai Mirotic with 15 points, 5 of 15 shooting, 2 of 8 from the three-point line. And then you had good old Bobby Portis with 22 points, 11 rebounds, 8 of 12 from the field. For Philly, you had Dario Saric with 21 points, 10 rebounds, shot 6 of 9, 4 of 5 from the three-point line. Robert Covington, 16 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, shot 6 of 9, 4 of 7 from the three-point line. I swear, Dario Saric and Robert Covington have identical shooting numbers every game, I feel. Every time I look at the stats, it's almost like the same thing. Joel Embiid, he had 22 points, 5 rebounds, shot 10 of 17. And then look at Ben Simmons. Nearly had a triple-double at the end of the first half, I think it was. He finished the game with 19 points, 17 rebounds, 14 assists, 6 of 15 from the field. All right. As we all know, Ben Simmons can't shoot the ball to save his life, but he's making it work, all right? He's pretty much I'm not going to say that yet. I don't want to stir up the pot too much, but nonetheless, and I wasn't going to say that he was better than Joel Embiid or anything like that. I'm not crazy, but nonetheless, looking like the best rookie in the league right now. And I mean, pretty much playing how we all thought he would as far as coming out of LSU. Obviously, he missed last season. What was it, with a fractured ankle or something like that? But this season, I mean, he's doing everything. He's pretty much playing the point guard position. Like I said, he's averaging, it's got to be like near 9 assists around there, something like that. A little bit more than 10 rebounds a game, I feel. And then he's averaging double digits in points. So, I mean, even the fact that he can't shoot a jump shot, still playing well. Next game up, we had the Toronto Raptors facing off with the Atlanta Hawks. As you should know, or if you didn't, the Raptors won this one 108-93. You had Serge Ibaka with only 12 points, shot 4 of 9. Kyle Lowry, not a good shooting night from him. Only 9 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, shot 3 of 10, 3 of 9 from the three-point line. DeMar DeRozan, same thing for him. Only 14 points, not a good shooting night though. He shot 4 of 12 from the field. For the Hawks, you had Dennis Schroeder with 20 points, 8 rebounds, shot 8 of 19. Has put a nice little string of a couple games together and been shooting the ball pretty well. And then you had Kent Bazemore with 13 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, shot 5 of 11. That's another guy that might get moved at the deadline too, so watch out for him. Next game, we had the Houston Rockets facing off with the Dallas Mavericks. I believe this game was on ESPN. Houston won this one 104-97. You had Trevor Ariza with 23 points, 4 rebounds, shot 8 of 17, 5 of 14 from the three-point line. Clint Capella with 16 points, 13 rebounds, shot 7 of 8. Been having a really strong season so far. Chris Paul, not a good shooting night from him. Only 12 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, shot 3 of 12, 3 of 8 from the three-point line. James Harden, 25 points, 13 assists, 5 rebounds, 9 of 16 shooting, 6 of 10 from the three-point line. And then off the bench, you had Eric Gordon with 17 points, 3 rebounds, shot 6 of 11, and 4 of 7 from the three-point line. That must be nice for Houston. You got a guy like Chris Paul, your starting point guard. He doesn't play well. We have James Harden. It's all going to work out. So, I mean, either or. I mean, James Harden doesn't play well, and usually you'll see Chris Paul pick it up. So, I mean, Houston's currently 34-12. Right now, I don't see them beating the Warriors, but nonetheless, they'd give them a good series, I feel. I wonder if they're going to do anything at the trade deadline, but we have to wait till, a couple more weeks, I think, for that. So, hopefully they do, just to pretty much get better, get more depth in order to compete with the Warriors. For the Mavericks, though, you had Wesley Matthews with 29 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, shot 10 of 18. Dennis Smith Jr., not a good shooting night from him. 11 points, 6 assists, shot 3 of 11. Dirk, he played 15 minutes in this one, 7 points, 2 rebounds, shot 2 of 7, 2 of 3 from the three-point line. Harrison Barnes had 10 points, 5 rebounds, shot 5 of 12. Dirk Nowitzki might be the most underrated player in the history of the NBA, if we're being real here. I mean, Dirk's, no one thinks about how Dirk is top, I think, what is he, number 6 all-time scoring on the all-time scoring list. I mean, no one really ever talks about that, but nonetheless, I mean, Dirk deserves a whole lot more recognition than he usually gets. As for the Spurs, they headed into Memphis, faced off with the Grizzlies, of course, and the Spurs won this one 108-85. No LaMarcus Aldridge for the Spurs in this one, did not play, was out resting in this one. You had Pau Gasol, who returned after missing the game yesterday. He had 14 points, 15 rebounds, shot 4 of 9. Dejounte Murray with 11 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists. He shot 4 of 9 also. Then you had Danny Green with 14 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, shot 4 of 7. Off the bench, you had Patty Mills with 15 points. He shot 5 of 10. Tony Parker, 12 points, 4 assists, shot 5 of 12. And then you had Brian Forbes with 14 points. Only shot 3 of 10, 2 of 4 from the three-point line, but got to the line a few times. For the Grizzlies, drawing a blank. Tyreek Evans in this one. Marc Gasol had 18 points, 7 rebounds, 6 of 13 shooting. Wayne Selden only 4 points, shot 1 of 9. And you had Dylan Brooks with 10 points, 7 rebounds, shot 5 of 10. As for the final game of the night, we had the Minnesota Timberwolves facing off with the Portland Trail Blazers. I got this pick wrong. Portland won this one, 123-114. For the Timberwolves, you had Andrew Wiggins with 24 points, shooting 11-17. Looks like he's been able to put together a couple of good shooting nights. Then you had Karl Anthony Towns with 16 points, 9 rebounds, shot 6-9. Jeff Teague, 15 points, shot 4 of 12, only 3 assists in this one. For the Trailblazers, you had Damian Lillard with 31 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, shot 9 of 17, 6 of 11 from the three-point line. CJ McCollum finally brings in a good game, 28 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds, shot 12 of 20, 4 of 5 from the three-point line. Evan Turner, nice little Evan Turner game, I guess you could say, 9 points, 6 assists, shot 4 of 6. And then Joseph Nurkic didn't play all too well, only 6 points. And then Al-Farouq Aminu had 15 points, 7 rebounds. He shot 6 of 9 and 3 of 4 from the three-point line. All right, so that's how those games ended up. As you know, we always do. We pick the games going on tonight in the fourth segment, so we're going to do that. But next up, we're going to be talking Dez Bryant and the Cowboys, talking about there's a little situation brewing there. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines. They got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. Alright, for that last segment, we talked about the NBA games from, yesterday, Wednesday night. Talked about the Celtics snapping their 4-game losing streak. Talked about the Timberwolves playing yesterday. The Pacers knocked off the Phoenix Suns. Ben Simmons had a nice little triple-double yesterday also, so a lot of good players going off yesterday, but also some good players with bad shooting nights. So we're going to be talking about the games going on tonight later on in the fourth segment. But for this one, we're going to be talking about Dez Bryant and the Cowboys. So Stephen Jones, like I said earlier on in the show, Stephen Jones went on one of the team podcasts and talked about Dez Bryant, talked about how expectations have been higher for him since he signed that big deal. I think it was, 6 years, $75 million or something like that. Can't remember exactly what it was. But nonetheless, talked about how his expectations for him have been high, really hasn't delivered, and how his sideline outbursts have been a distraction. And you got Jerry Jones not giving a real definitive answer about Dez Bryant, whether or not he's going to be back next season. All right, and you know what? I completely understand it all. I get why Dez Bryant really hasn't performed. I get why the Cowboys would be thinking about getting rid of him. All right, I mean, Dez Bryant in Dak Prescott's first 2 years, last year he had 50 receptions, 796 yards receiving, 8 touchdowns. This year, only 69 receptions, 838 yards, and 6 touchdowns. All right, obviously his numbers are way down compared to the years with Tony Romo. I mean, they're from a stretch of 2014 to 2012 to 2014. You had Dez with 92 catches in 2012, over 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns. 2013, 93 catches, over 1,200 yards, 13 touchdowns there. And then 2014, you got him with 88 catches, over 1,300 yards, and 16 touchdowns there. So, I mean, he really just hasn't returned to that. I mean, obviously, he had 8 touchdowns last season, 6 touchdowns this year. Obviously not good enough. So what do the Cowboys do with Dez? If I'm them, I mean, I think you got to keep him for another year. I mean, there's really no one out there off the top of my head that I think you could replace Dez Bryant with. All right. I think in the draft they have the 19th pick, and then they got a lot of problems they got to fix up on the defense before I think they start heading to the offense. And I think that the biggest problem with Dez Bryant since Dak Prescott has gotten here is that it's turned more into a dink and duck type of offense, all right? You're getting guys like Cole Beasley who are getting the ball more, Jason Wynn, because those are the guys who are running the short routes and usually open most of the time, all right? Dez Bryant works so well with Tony Romo because of the fact that Tony Romo could throw the ball downfield, all right? Dez Bryant's a big play receiver, and he's simply just not going to – he's either going to have to adjust his game to the Cowboys offense, since they're going to be pretty much catering the offense to Dak Prescott, as you should, since he's the quarterback. So, like I said, I mean, Dez has just got to adjust his game and learn how to fit in with that offense. Otherwise, I mean, he's got to go, I feel. But even if you were to get rid of him, I mean, who do you bring in? I mean, I know Bryce Butler. Bryce Butler, I think he's a free agent, so you could re-sign him and have him take over Dez Bryant's spot. I think Bryce Butler might fit in that offense a little bit more, but I mean, he doesn't have near the ability of Dez Bryant, I feel, unless there's something about Bryce Butler that I don't know about. But nonetheless, I mean, Dez Bryant, I think he's still a good receiver. He's been in the league for, since 2010, about 8 years. So, I mean, I don't know. Dez Bryant he's been a bit of a weird receiver. I can get the whole sideline outburst. Jason Garrett says they're not a distraction, so I don't think you could consider them a distraction. If the coach says, no, it's fine. It's just Dez loves the game. But, I mean, where would Dez even go if he got cut? I think maybe he could fit in with a team like Miami. If Dez Bryant were to get cut, they just let go of Jarvis Landry, bring in Dez Bryant, have him work with Tannehill. Let's see, who else needs a receiver? The 49ers might need, the 49ers need a receiver. Maybe we should go division by division with this right here. Let's see right here. Let's go, and he's not going to go to a team in the NFC East. I highly doubt that. NFC North, Chicago needs a receiver. Detroit's fine. Green Bay's fine. Minnesota's fine. NFC South, Atlanta's not really, doesn't need one. Carolina, maybe. They need receivers right there. New Orleans, no. Tampa Bay, they got Mike Evans. The NFC West, maybe you could see him going to the Cardinals. I doubt that. No. Maybe the Rams? No, I don't think so. Like I said, San Francisco would be a good fit. Maybe a team like Seattle, but they're already paying Doug Baldwin, so I doubt that. Like I said, Miami might be a good fit. I doubt Dez Bryant would head over to Buffalo. AFC North, I don't see Dez Bryant even going to the AFC North. AFC South, nothing there, I feel. And then the AFC West, I mean, no one there. So I guess it's either stay with the Cowboys. I could see him as a fit with Chicago, with Carolina, San Francisco, or Miami. But like I said, I highly doubt he leaves this season. I think he's just got to adjust his play style to the Cowboys offense if he wants to get more involved and pretty much get his stats to what they used to be. Dak Prescott's not going to be a guy who throws the ball down the field. I said he's just like an Alex Smith. All right. Solid game manager, but he's not going to get the job done. I mean, this season, I think Dak Prescott, he only threw for, what was it? Yeah, a little over 3,000 yards, had 3,324, only 22 touchdowns. Let me see if I can pull up his interception numbers. That's pretty much Case Keenum numbers right there. Let's see. It's not showing me his interceptions. I'm not sure how many interceptions. I got it right here. 13 interceptions. So that's worse than Case Keenum, actually. So, yeah, he threw for 3,324 yards, 22 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, fumbled the ball 14 times. So it's really a down year for Dak Prescott. I mean, I know he was without Ezekiel Elliott for 6 games, but usually, too, with second-year quarterbacks, usually see him take a dip in that second season. Don't really play too well because there's more film out on them. But I think Dak Prescott still, like I said, he's not going to be a guy who throws the ball deep or anything like that. But I think he still could be a good quarterback in the league. I know he's been compared to Carson Wentz a lot, and I think that's unfair. I think that more has to do with the fact that both teams are rivals, both play in the same division. And I know Cowboys fans last year, if you had to decide who the better quarterback was, I mean, you could say Dak Prescott. I mean, he was pretty much outplaying Carson Wentz, had a better record, and pretty much, like I said, was just playing well. Carson Wentz was taking steps to becoming what he was. And then you could say this year, I mean, Carson Wentz was a way better quarterback than Dak Prescott, but I mean, it's all subjective. It doesn't really matter anymore. And I mean, as far as like the Cowboys go, like what do the Cowboys look like without Dez Bryant, right? If the Cowboys cut Dez Bryant, let's say they re-sign Bryce Butler, and he takes Dez Bryant's spot, okay? Then you got Bryce Butler, Terrence Williams on the outsides, Cole Beasley in the slot, Jason Wynn tight end, and you got Ezekiel Elliott at the running back position. Is this still a team who could compete for that division? Because I mean, the Cowboys it was like a bad year for them, honestly, if you think about it. All right, they didn't play well for most of the season, but nonetheless, they still finished 9-7, second in the NFC East, ahead of Washington and New York. Next year, like I said, I talked about it on yesterday's podcast with Pat Shermer coming into the Giants, becoming their head coach. The Giants are going to be a whole lot better. I think they're going to be at least an 8-win team. Washington, they're going to go down. They're probably going to have no more than 3 wins next season, if we're being real here, unless they re-sign Kirk Cousins, and we're actually going to talk about Kirk Cousins. I think it's going to be in the next segment. So, yeah, I mean, Dallas right here, like with them having, like, replacing Dez Bryant with Bryce Butler, I think they could still be a 10-win team around there, 11 wins possibly. I mean, Dak Prescott, obviously we know what kind of quarterback he is, or we think we know what kind of quarterback he is. Like I said, he's a game manager, but he's a whole lot better when Ezekiel Elliott's out there. And I mean, I was looking at Ezekiel Elliott's stats right now, and the guy missed 6 games, but nearly had 1,000 yards receiving, or 1,000 yards rushing, and still had nearly 10 touchdowns. He finished the season with 7 touchdowns. So, I mean, next season, even without, like, let me put it this way, okay? I think without Dez Bryant, the Cowboys don't really get any worse, okay? Dez Bryant, when Tony Romo was the quarterback, was a top 10 receiver, but ever since Dak Prescott came in, I mean, Dez Bryant struggled to even be top 15. I mean, let's see if we can even name a few. I might be a little harsh as far as saying top 15, but I don't think he'd be top 10 this season at least, because you got guys like, let's go off the top of my head right here. All right, we got Antonio Brown, obviously, is the number 1. Then you could go Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, Michael Thomas. Adam Thielen, I feel, was a better receiver this season than Dez Bryant. When he was healthy, Odell Beckham Jr. is a better receiver. Devontae Adams, I'd take him over Dez Bryant this season. Let's see, anyone else I'm missing out on? Even a guy like Doug Baldwin was better. Jarvis Landry was better. As I said, AJ Green better. I think Dez Bryant is more on that, like, barely outside top 10 range, so I guess that is top 15, I guess you could say, but nonetheless, I mean, like I said, Cowboys get rid of Dez Bryant, nothing really changes, I feel. I think that their biggest problem on that team right now is the defense. They need to fix up that defense in the draft, and if you fix up the defense in the draft, like I said, you're a 10-win, 11-win team, even without Dez Bryant. You bring Dez Bryant back for, because, like, as of right now, I don't think Dez is getting cut, but I think that, all this talk between Stephen Jones and Jerry Jones to show Dez Bryant, like, you're expendable, so you better step it up. And I think that Dez Bryant's going to end up figuring it out. I don't think really, too, him and Dak Prescott, obviously, I'm just a guy with a podcast, so I don't really know too much about it on the outside, behind-the-scenes things. But, I mean, I don't think really him and Dak Prescott have too much of a relationship. I remember one of the press conferences, can't remember which game it was, but Dak Prescott said, like, about, like, Dez Bryant dropping a ball, or it was like a deflected ball for an interception or something like that. And then Dez Bryant says, or Dak Prescott said, I guess I can't hit him in the face mask. I got to hit him in the chest. And I mean, it was pretty funny seeing that. So as far as Dez Bryant goes, I mean, I don't really see him leaving Dallas. But if he were to, Cowboys don't get any worse, I don't think. So, I mean, that's all I got to say about that. Next up, we're going to be talking Kirk Cousins, maybe talk Alex Smith, talk about a couple of other quarterbacks possibly. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. So far in the show, we talked about the NBA games that went on Wednesday night, talked about Dez Bryant and the Cowboys, and talked about pretty much if the Cowboys would be better or worse without Dez Bryant. I don't think they'd be much better without him, but I don't think they get worse without him. All right, I still think that even without Dez Bryant, they're a 10-win, 11-win team. All right, you know, the year before last year, they won, they think they won 13 games. So, I mean, those stats, I mean, they went 9-7 with Dez Bryant only having 838 receiving yards, 69 receptions, 6 touchdowns. All right, like I said, if you cut Dez Bryant, just re-sign Bryce Butler, I think he could put up those kind of numbers. All right. This offense, you don't need a big play offense. You got Ezekiel Elliott, run the offense through him, and then when Dak Prescott throws the ball, boom, you got the short routes, the underneath routes, and Jason Wynn there as a security blanket for him. So, I mean, The Cowboys getting rid of Dez Bryant doesn't seem all too crazy. I mean, I think they'd save some money. I think they'd only owe him $4 million if they cut him after. I can't remember exactly what the date is that they had. I think it's like a June date where if they cut him after that, then they only owe him $4 million. But other than that, like I said, I mean, I'm sure he's going to end up staying there this season, but it's not going to be much of a problem if he leaves for the Cowboys. So that's how I feel about that. Now let's talk quarterbacks. All right, I was thinking of just talking about Kirk Cousins, but why not talk about Kirk, Alex Smith, Sam Bradford, Teddy Bridgewater, Case Keenum, even Blake Bortles. Why don't we just talk about those guys? We did have a discussion about it, me and Tate, on the GSMC football podcast, but not everyone listens to that, and some people just listen to this one, so we're going to top quarterbacks for this one, all right? So let's talk Kirk Cousins first and foremost. I remember pretty much in the beginning of the year, it was pretty well known that obviously this offseason, Kirk Cousins is going to get the highest contract for quarterback in NFL history. Jimmy Garoppolo might have something to say about that. Maybe. I'm not sure. I mean, Jimmy G is it's such a weird case with Jimmy Garoppolo, all right? The guy has only started 8 NFL games, and he's undefeated in all of them, okay? And I know, like, usually on the podcast, I really talk about how wins and losses are a team stat, but I just can't help myself sometimes. So, nonetheless, I mean, he's played well in 8 of them. They've so happened to win all 8 of those games that he started, whether it was with the Patriots or the 49ers. And, I mean, look at this 49ers team started off, 0-10 before he came in to start? And he starts the next 6 games, makes everyone around him better. He's that type of quarterback. So, like, as far as, like, the kind of contract he's going to get, I mean, what does John Lynch want to do? Obviously, it's going to be around $25 million, I feel. Probably going to give him, 7 years? I mean, Jimmy G does look like a franchise quarterback. I like the way he plays. I like the way his vision, the way he looks down the field. All right, he's got good pocket presence, got good footwork. So, I mean, I think that if I had to choose between who I'm giving the highest NFL quarterback contract in the history of the league to, I'm going to give it to Jimmy Garoppolo, I feel, even with those 8 games just under his belt. All right, obviously Kirk Cousins has played more, but I feel like there's way more upside. I'm probably not saying anything new or anything else or anything crazy or anything like that, like I said, but I mean, Jimmy G obviously has more upside than Kirk Cousins, and I feel like I don't know, I think he's probably going to be one of the next good quarterbacks in the league. All right, I'm going to hold off and call him one of the next great quarterbacks because I think right now Carson Wentz has that title, but I mean, we got to see how he comes back from his ACL injury. But nonetheless, like I said, I mean, Kirk Cousins is going to end up getting paid, whether it's the highest paid quarterback contract in the history of the league or the second highest quarterback contract in the history of the league. He's going to get paid. But where is he going to get paid at? Who's going to pay him? Is it going to be the Redskins? I don't really see that happening. I mean, they franchised them, the last 2 years. I remember Kirk Cousins to San Francisco was almost like an afterthought. Everyone thought that was going to happen, and then all of a sudden they trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. So, I mean, that's out the picture. Like I said, the Redskins are an option, but I don't really see it happening. There's Jacksonville. That's the option right there, but I don't think Jacksonville's going to want to go out and pay Kirk Cousins all that money because when you got a bunch of young guys on this team that are going to need to be paid in a few years, I mean, you're going to be all messed up and locked up because you got to pay Kirk Cousins all that money still. So, like, Jacksonville is an option, but I don't see it happening. Denver, I think if I had to put my money on it, Kirk Cousins ends up in Denver. All right, because, there are teams like Cleveland or even New York that are going to need a quarterback. Because, I mean, you can see Pat Shurmur. I was talking about it yesterday. Like, Pat Shurmur could just keep Eli, draft Josh Rosen, have him sit under him for 2 years, and then eventually make Rosen the starting quarterback. Or you could bring in Case Keenum and draft Saquon Barkley. I mean, what if you bring in Kirk Cousins, cut Eli, and draft Barkley? I mean, that's a nice little option right there for the Giants, but I don't really see that happening. But, I mean, it's a possibility, I guess, since they need a quarterback. So, I mean, that's a possibility right there. I mean, Cleveland, as far as them needing a quarterback, I mean, obviously free agency starts in March. Then you got the draft in April, I believe. So, I mean, it's not like a crazy thing to think about that Kirk Cousins goes to the Browns. And, I mean, imagine if John Dorsey's able to get Kirk Cousins to the Browns. You have I don't know. Do we call it, is like Kirk Cousins an established quarterback? Is that what we think of him? I mean, Kirk Cousins, I think right now is a good quarterback. Really hasn't had too many weapons during his time in Washington. So, I mean, I think Josh Gordon and Corey Coleman are an upgrade already over Josh Dotson and Jamison Crowder, I feel. And then you got David Njoku, the young tight end in his second year who could get better. He's been developing, I feel. So, I mean, you bring in a guy like Kirk Cousins, I mean, that's already better personnel than what he had in Washington. Then, I mean, boom. I mean, like they can do whatever they want with that number 1 and number 4 pick. All right, you can go with even like a guy like Saquon Barkley with your first pick, take him, and then you could take Minkah Fitzpatrick with your 4th pick. And I feel like if I'm the Browns, I'm thinking about it now. I'm starting to talk myself into it. If I'm the Browns, I'm doing whatever I can to bring in Kirk Cousins and make him the quarterback. Why go with a guy like Sam Darnold or Josh Allen? I'd say Josh Rosen, but I think from what they've been saying, I think it's going to be Sam Darnold, Josh Allen if they do draft a quarterback with that number 1 pick. But if I'm the Browns, I'm trying to do whatever it takes to get Kirk Cousins there. I mean, Kirk Cousins, he's shown that he could be a good quarterback with very little talent around him. All right, and like I said, I mean, you bring in Saquon Barkley, draft Minkah Fitzpatrick to play safety for you. Browns might they might win 6-7 games if they do that, especially with Todd Haley as the offensive coordinator. All right, you know what? It's settled. I'm on the Kirk Cousins to Cleveland bandwagon right now. All right, I'm number 1 on that hype train. But nonetheless, that's just something that I'm throwing out there. I don't think it's going to happen. If anything, I think Kirk Cousins is going to end up in Denver if he does leave Washington. All right, John Elway has shown us so far in his football operations executive job that he's terrible at picking quarterbacks, whether it be Trevor Siemian. All right, I think he had Brock Osweiler for a little bit, and then Paxton Lynch. Hasn't worked out. None of those 3 are going to be starting quarterbacks in the league going forward. They're probably going to be nice little backups, but like I said, not starting caliber type quarterbacks in the NFL. So why waste your 5th pick? It's 5th pick on another quarterback that you're not even sure is going to work out, rather than bringing in a guy like Kirk Cousins. All right, you got Demaryius Thomas. I think Emmanuel Sanders is a free agent, so I'm not sure what they're going to do with him. You still got C.J. Anderson, but I'm not sure if they're going to bring him back. And then you got Devontae Booker, who has shown flashes of what he could be, the type of running back he could be, but just really hasn't put it all together yet. And then you got an aging defense, who I think the defense, they played so poorly last season just because of the fact that, you give up a touchdown, and Denver was already out of the game. Denver couldn't put up points at all. So, you bring in Kirk Cousins, that's going to make the offense around him better, I feel. So, I think he's going to end up going to Denver, but I'm not sure. I really like that Cleveland idea. Just imagine. All right, you sign Kirk Cousins, bring in Barkley, and draft Fitzpatrick from Alabama. That'd be golden right there. Cleveland would win 6 games at the very least if they did that plan right there. All right. I know Cleveland the last few years, they really, they haven't made, bad moves or anything like that. I guess in hindsight, you could say drafting Deshaun Kaiser instead of Deshaun Watson was a bad move, but at the time it was like Deshaun Kaiser had a strong arm and looked like he had the tools to become a solid quarterback. But there's that whole thing with Hugh Jackson benching him midseason, week after week, or switching week after week with him. That's not a way to develop a quarterback. Really, it really kills his confidence. So I'm not really sure what the Browns are going to do. But if I'm John Dorsey, I'm trying to throw whatever I can at Kirk Cousins to get him here, so that way I can draft my running back with the number 1 pick, and then draft the safety to play alongside Jabril Peppers out on the defense. So Minkah Fitzpatrick, Jabril Peppers is really a guy who's got to develop. Really didn't do too much last season. Then you got Myles Garrett. No one talked about Myles Garrett. This turned into a Cleveland Browns segment, I've noticed. But no one's talked about Myles Garrett this past season. He played well, I feel. Let me see if I could pull up his stats, see what he actually did. I know he was he did play well, but it was the whole 0-16 season that was really taking it up for him. He had 7 sacks. Remember, I think he missed the first 5 games, or he came back in the 5th game, finished the season with 31 tackles, 7 sacks. That's pretty good for him, especially the 7 sacks. You give him a full season, that's a double-digit sack season right there, I feel. So, if I'm the Browns, like I said, I'm bringing in Kirk Cousins and drafting those 2 players right there. But I think it's all good. When it's all said and done, he'll be in a Denver Broncos uniform. So let's talk about Alex Smith now. What's going to happen to him? All right, it's pretty much been since they drafted Patrick Mahomes. Even people were talking about before the season even started. Are they going to draft or bench Smith for Mahomes? When's Mahomes going to come in? Is he going to be the future? And I think that this is the year Alex Smith is going to end up getting traded. Okay, so let's say Alex Smith does get traded. What's a good possible landing spot for Alex Smith? There's a few teams out there. I think 3 teams off the top of my head right now. A team like Buffalo, they need a quarterback. They got picks number 21 and number 22. All right, they need to fix out that offense. So you trade for a guy like Alex Smith, and I think Kansas City. Let me see if I can double check right here. I don't think that they have a draft pick in this round. Let's see. Yeah, they don't. So, I mean, you can tell Kansas City, hey, we'll give you our first round pick, like whatever, the 22nd pick for Kirk Cousins. That way you guys could have a draft pick in the first round. I mean, that's a deal that would work out right there. I think Alex Smith, did I say Kirk Cousins right now? I was talking about Alex Smith. Either way, you get what I'm saying. But I think Alex Smith is worth a first round pick. He's not like a first-round pick type of quarterback, but his value is that high right now. And plus, bringing in a guy like Alex Smith to play on that Bills team, you already have LaShawn McCoy at the running back position. You don't need Alex Smith to go out and throw for over 4,000 yards or anything like that, because obviously he's not going to. But, I mean, you got a guy like LaShawn McCoy who's going to take the heat off of Alex Smith just like Kareem Hunt did this year. And I'm still pretty frustrated over the fact that Travis Kelce goes down in that playoff game and Andy Reid refuses to give the ball to Kareem Hunt more than 11 times. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But nonetheless, that's a story for a different day. Maybe we could talk about Andy Reid in the next segment. I'm not even sure. But like I said, story for a different day. You bring in a guy like Alex Smith, all right? You got a nice little solid quarterback at that position. Serviceable guy. He's not going to lose you a game. You got like LaShawn McCoy. And then you can spend the rest of the draft pretty much fixing up that offense as far as receivers go. I like Nick O'Leary, the tight end for Buffalo. I think he's going to develop into a nice little top 15 tight end next season. You still got Charles Clay there. The offensive line is pretty good still. And, I mean, I know on the defensive end, defensive side, they're starting to get older, so you're going to start bringing in younger players to replace them eventually. But, I mean, you bring in a guy like Alex Smith to play for Buffalo, that's going to fix up a lot of the problems you have already. All right, so, yeah, Buffalo is an option for him. Even a team like Jacksonville would be an option for Alex Smith to go to. I mean, look at, you got D.D. Westbrook, Keenan Cole, Marquise Lee, Allen Hurns. I think they're going to end up franchising Allen Robinson if they can't sign him to a long-term deal this offseason. Jacksonville just needs a guy who's not going to turn the ball over and lose him a game. All right, I've been saying it all year, and I'll continue to say it until Blake Bortles isn't there anymore, since there will be no reason to talk about it. But this season, I mean, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they'd play the opposing team, but they'd also be playing against Blake Bortles too, because that guy just always limited him as far as playing good football. All right, you always got to worry, is Blake Bortles going to lose the game for us? He's going to throw a pick here, and pretty much, I mean, you bring in a guy like Alex Smith, you don't have to worry about him turning the ball over because he really does. All right, you don't need him to do too much. Like I said, as far as Buffalo, it's the same thing in Jacksonville. You got Leonard Fournette back there, one of the best running backs in the league, top 10. I'm not going to get too crazy. Yeah, Leonard Fournette, a top 10 running back in the league already as a rookie. So, I mean, you got him back there. You got explosive receivers out there. You got Mercedes Lewis, who is older, but he can be productive from time to time. And then you don't really need Alex Smith to put up a bunch of points or anything like that because you got that number one defense in the league. So, I mean, Jacksonville would be a nice little option for him. I'm still waiting to see what the Giants do with Eli, because if he gets cut from the Giants, then Eli's going to end up on Jacksonville. I'm almost sure of it. All right, and that third team is the Arizona Cardinals. All right, you got David Johnson coming back off of his season-ending injury. You got Larry Fitzgerald still there. I can't remember, what was the tight end? He was playing well. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but there was a tight end. Is it Ricky? I got it right there. Let me see if I can pull it up right here as I'm talking. But yeah, you throw in Alex Smith there. I mean, like I said, it's pretty much Alex Smith needs to go to a team where he doesn't need to lead them to wins. All right, teams like it's Ricky Seals-Jones, isn't it? Yeah, I think it's Ricky Seals-Jones. Let me see if I could get it for sure. But like I said, I mean, Alex Smith isn't a guy who's going to win you games, but he's not going to lose you games. He needs to go to a team to where they pretty much, they're set up all around. You don't really need a great quarterback, like a Case Keenum, like a Minnesota Vikings type of team with Case Keenum. Obviously, Case Keenum played well and all that, but I mean, you don't have guys like Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, Kyle Rudolph around there, then it's not really going to work out too much. But I can't figure out his name off the top. I'm pretty sure it's Ricky Seals-Jones. There, I got it right there. All right, so he was looking like a solid tight end. He was a rookie last season, going to be in his second year, looking to develop some more. So, I mean, Alex Smith would fit in with Buffalo, fit in with Jacksonville, or Arizona. I think if Alex Smith gets traded, those are the three teams that he's going to go to. I think it might end up being Buffalo, for being honest here, because they do have two number one picks, and Kansas City obviously needs one. So Alex Smith could end up at those three teams, but if I had to make a pick, it'd be Buffalo. All right, let's talk Case Keenum. Where's he going to end up? If I'm the Vikings, I'm bringing back Teddy Bridgewater. I'm signing him to a long-term deal. Obviously, he's going to come cheap because he hasn't played in 2 years pretty much. But he's 25, Case Keenum's 30. It's simple business math right there, okay? So what do you do? Where does Case Keenum go? Obviously, let's look at the teams who need quarterbacks, okay? Washington needs a quarterback, but I don't think they'll be bringing in Case Keenum. The Jets need a quarterback. I don't see Case Keenum going there. I mean, the only real fit for Case Keenum, I feel, is the Giants. All right, Pat Shurmur's going to be there. And Case Keenum did have his best season under Pat Shurmur, but I mean, I'm not even sure what Pat Shurmur wants to do. Obviously, he knows what Case is capable of, but maybe he wants to bring in Josh Rosen and sit under Eli for 2 years, and maybe he just wants Eli for 2 years and thinks he could win a few games with him. It'd be honestly kind of ridiculous if the Giants don't draft a quarterback with that second pick. Okay, because we all know, it's not a secret or anything like that. Eli's got 2 more years in the league, and then he's done. All right. How do you know if Pat Shurmur goes there? Obviously, you're going to have a solid offense. How do you know that the Giants are going to the Giants are going to win games with Pat Shurmur going there? I'm almost certain of it. Even if Eli Manning is the quarterback and they don't draft him, they're going to win games. Obviously, when Eli's done, you're not going to have a pick low enough to get a nice little quarterback. So it's either, I feel for the Giants, it's either you get Case Keenum or you draft Josh Rosen and sit for 2 years. All right, but like I said, for Case Keenum, I mean, I'm not really sure where he fits in the league after this year. I mean, he's got to go to a team. He's just like Alex Smith. He's just like Alex Smith. He's got to go to a team that's already pretty much built. They just need a guy who's not going to lose them games. All right, so I mean, Case Keenum, it's either, I feel, just go back to Minnesota or he ends up in New York, but I'm not completely sure about it. As far as Blake Bortles goes, I've said it, I'm going to say it again. Blake Bortles is going to become the new Josh McCown, all right? He's played 4 years in the league so far, and he's not going to be a great quarterback. He's most likely not ever going to turn into a good quarterback. He's going to be a quarterback that goes to bad teams who are going to draft quarterbacks early on in the draft, but they don't want to start him off right away. So you're going to have a guy like Blake Bortles come in, start for the first 6 games until he stinks, and then that's when you throw in the rookie quarterback. So, I mean, Blake Bortles, congrats. I think you're going to turn into Josh McCown. Obviously, that means Bortles is going to have a long career, but nonetheless, I mean, that's just it right there. All right, so that's all I got to say about that. Next up, we're going to be talking some soccer. XFL is back. Maybe I could give some thoughts about that, and we'll be picking the NBA games for, Thursday? Yeah, Thursday night, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. All right, quick recap of the show so far. We talked the NBA games from Wednesday, recapped those, talked about the scores and stats, talked about Dez Bryant, what's going on in Dallas right now, talked about if Dallas would truly be worse without him. I don't think so. All right, and then we talked about a few quarterbacks, talked about Kirk Cousins, Alex Smith, and Blake Bortles. Did we talk about someone else? I think those are the 3 right there that we talked about. But, yeah, we did that for the 3rd segment. This one, as you know, if you've been listening to the show, the 4th segment is always just pretty much anything else going on in sports or just anything that's going on in my head that I want to talk about. All right, so let's get off with some soccer news, okay? Manchester United gave Jose Mourinho an extension. I think it's up to 2020. I think so far, I mean, Mourinho, I don't know. It's weird. Manchester United, ever since Sir Alex Ferguson left, just really hasn't been, true Manchester United, the number 1 English team, just pretty much the golden standard of how you want to build your team in the Premier League, okay? They just haven't returned to that, and you know what? Maybe they might not ever return to that, okay? Maybe it was just the fact that Sir Alex Ferguson just continued just to build teams. It's just ridiculous. It's just weird how, now they're just the top football club in the Premier League. And yeah, I said football. I know it's soccer. Maybe you'll hear me switching it from time to time, calling it soccer, football. Right there off the top of my head, I just called it football. All right? Don't get mad at me. But nonetheless, like I said, I'm not sure if Manchester United is ever going to return to that little mystique that they had with Alex Ferguson as their head coach. All right, so we have to wait and see about all that. So far, they haven't been able to win the Premier League since Mourinho's gotten there. He's brought in solid players, but they just really, Like, I can't remember exactly what they finished last year or the year before that, but I think they've been finishing top 4. So, I mean, they got to take that next step and eventually win the Premier League. Right now, it looks kind of out of reach just because of the fact that Manchester City has been playing so well this season. I think they're still, 13, 12 points ahead in the league right now. Let me see. They're currently 12 points ahead in the league. So, yeah, I'm not sure if they're going to be catching them. Obviously, there's always that chance that somehow Manchester City falters and goes on a little bad run, but I'm not sure. Like, it'd have to be like an all-time collapse, I think, for Manchester City to eventually give up that number 1 spot to a team like United. All right, but Alexis Sanchez, it looks like he's going to be in the squad this week. And Alexis Sanchez on Manchester United, I remember like everyone was thinking that he was going to be going to City, like it was a done deal, and they were just trying to figure out price. And I was thinking that too. I had no idea that Manchester United would swoop in and take Alexis Sanchez from him, but nonetheless they did. They didn't even have to pay for him either. They just gave up Henrik Mkhitaryan, and Mkhitaryan really just hasn't done much this season for United. I think it's better for him to go to Arsenal. He'll probably get some playing time. That team's gonna. I think if they get Aubameyang, Arsenal might. They're not gonna. Like I said, no one's winning the Premier League this season besides Manchester City, unless they have like just the downfall of downfalls. But maybe in the Europa League, a guy like Mkhitaryan and Aubameyang over there could help them win that. Because you got teams like Atletico in there. I think Napoli is in there, and then I'm missing one other big team that's in the Europa League right now. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's not Sevilla. Usually Sevilla is the Europa Kings, but I think they're still in the Champions League. I can't remember exactly who's what the third team is that came from the Champions League into Europa League is. But, I mean, if Arsenal brings in Aubameyang, like I said, I mean, they're going to be a fun little team to watch. Lacazette so far with Arsenal, I mean, that's been weird. Like, he's been all right, like, good, but he just hasn't been what I expected him to be with Arsenal. I thought he'd be scoring a bunch of goals, but, I mean, Arsene Wenger is a bit, like, past his prime as far as coaching. He does make some questionable decisions. So, I mean, hopefully they do bring in Aubameyang. That'll make them a whole lot more fun to watch, but I guess that would require Arsene Wenger to make the right move, so that's going to take a lot out of him. But nonetheless, like I said, Manchester United extends Jose Mourinho to 2020. Sanchez is going to be playing this week, and I'm excited to see how Sanchez fits in with that Manchester United squad. He's probably going to end up taking Marcus Rashford's, Jesse Lingard's spot on the left. You probably see Juan Mata on the right, Pogba and Matic, I think, if that's how they've been playing so far in the center, and then you still got Lukaku up top, or maybe, I don't know, you could put Sanchez up top with Lukaku and play with only one central midfielder. So we're going to have to wait and see how it all ends up. But, I mean, eventually Manchester United's going to have to go out and win the Premier League, whether it's next year. It's got to be next year. Manchester United needs to go out and win the Premier League, I think, in order for them to keep riding with Mourinho. I mean, it's time. All right. I get that Sir Alex Ferguson isn't coming back anytime soon, and they had David Moyes, who wasn't a good coach. Louis van Gaal, who played, I don't know, Louis van Gaal was a weird coach for United. I mean, didn't really get anything done there. I mean, brought in players. I think he was the one who brought in Ibrahimovic, but played a lot of the youngsters too, so that was good for Manchester United's development. But Jose Mourinho's got to go out and win the Premier League instead of losing the Pep all the time. So, that's what I got to say about soccer. All right, now we have the Hall of Fame announcement for the MLB was made. I think it's Vladimir Guerrero. I'm looking off the top of my head right now. Vlad, Jim Thome, Trevor Hoffman, and Chipper Jones. Those are the four, okay? Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens did not get in once again. And I understand that the voters don't want to vote them in because of the whole steroids problem, and I get that. I completely understand it, but as far as Barry Bonds goes, I've always said this about him. Yeah, he took steroids. Yeah, he probably wouldn't have the home run record if he didn't take steroids. But nonetheless, I mean, if we think about it, before he started taking steroids, Barry Bonds was still one of the best hitters in the league. All right, I've always said this. Okay, yeah, he took steroids and that's bad, but steroids don't teach you the mechanics of hitting. All right, steroids don't teach you how to hit. The fact that, like I said, even before he was taking steroids and all that, he was still one of the best hitters in the league. So I think eventually we're gonna have to let Barry Bonds in the Hall of Fame because, I mean, I guess it's different for a guy like Roger Clemens because I guess taking steroids it doesn't make you big already. Okay, it just gives you more adrenaline, I think it is, and then that way you could lift more weights and go longer in the gym and all that to get bigger. All right, and that gives you like that little edge right there. All right, I get it for a pitcher because obviously your arm's getting stronger, and obviously as a pitcher, you use your arm to pitch, all right, when putting A and B together. Like I said, as a hitter, though, there's a whole lot more that goes into hitting, I feel, than it goes into pitching, all right? The mechanic, hitting a baseball and in the major leagues, I feel, is probably one of the most difficult things to do in professional sports. So I feel like even though, let's say Barry Bonds never took steroids, okay? Probably doesn't have that home run record, but is probably still one of the better hitters of all time, I feel. So I think eventually we got to let Barry in. I completely understand not letting Roger Clemens in. I guess there is a little bias there, but nonetheless, I think Barry Bonds should eventually become a Hall of Famer because the guy could hit even before he was taking steroids. I mean, people forget the guy played for the Pirates and was one of the better hitters in the league then. So that's all I got to say about that. Another thing, the XFL is coming back, all right? I was too young to remember it when it was first around, but it's going to be back in 2020. I've been seeing like the Twitter reaction around has been kind of mixed. People are kind of like not really excited, but they're interested, all right? And then there's people that are like, "Oh, this is dumb. This is going to fail." My take on it is, I mean, I love the NFL, okay? And the NFL is always going to stay king as far as like any football league challenging it. But I mean, it's just like as far as like the one thing that makes me mad, like more frustrated to watch the NFL than anything else is the refs. All right, and I guess that's like for all leagues. I mean, NBA refs are probably the worst in all of professional sports, but I mean, I feel like in the NFL, the refs this season have pretty much like made themselves a part of the show, part of the entertainment. All right, it's way too bad right now going on. All right, I mean, other than that, I mean, the NFL's been fine. I mean, there's other not even problems, I guess you could say. I mean, it's pretty much what you think of them, and you know what I'm talking about, but I'm not going to bring it up, obviously, because I don't feel like talking about it. But nonetheless, I mean, the NFL, like, the XFL, I'm going to watch it when it comes around in 2020. I'm going to check it out, all right? Because, you know, I like watching the game of football, so it's going to be something else. And like I said, I mean, Tate asked me earlier before the show, I mean, what do you think of the XFL? You think it's going to be successful? And I was like, telling him, like, what does successful mean for the XFL? All right, because obviously they're never going to top the NFL as far as money, ratings, and all that goes. But I mean, as far as longevity goes, if they're able to last, I mean, for a while, obviously more than they did the last time. I mean, I guess you could consider that successful. You got the Arena Football League that's starting to go down now. I remember I used to watch those games a little bit too. But I mean, if the XFL lasts for more than 10 years and is just pretty much a league that's able to be sustainable and stay around, even though they're not going to be able to top the NFL, I mean, I guess that's successful right there. As long as they make money and they're able to stay around, they'd be successful. All right, I mean, now you got people saying, oh, Johnny Manziel to the XFL, Team Tebow. I mean, if you get players like that, I mean, a guy like Johnny Manziel in the XFL is going to bring ratings, okay? Because, I mean, when he was at Texas A&M, I mean, I was always glued to the TV watching him, and even with the Browns. I mean, I'm not a Browns fan, but if Johnny Manziel was playing, I was watching because he's an exciting player to watch. I mean, as far as his true quarterback talent and what you think of it, I mean, that's a whole nother story. I don't think Johnny Manziel would ever become a top 10 NFL quarterback or anything like that. Didn't even think that when he was with the Browns. But, I mean, he's just an exciting player to watch. So, I mean, once the XFL comes around and they're on TV, I'll be watching, no doubt about it. It's going to be a nice little alternative. But like I said, the NFL will always stay king. Speaking of kings, we're going to be picking the games going on today in the NBA, and we're going to start off with the Kings and Heat. All right, so the Kings are heading over to Miami, and Miami's currently favored by 9.5 in this game. I got Miami in this one. I mean, the Kings just aren't a good team. They're coming off a win against Orlando, but Miami Heat are the better team. Obviously, Miami, I think, I'm almost positive. I got to double check, but I think Miami is still the 4th seed in the East. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. I know Cleveland lost the other day, so yeah, Miami's a half game back of Cleveland for that number 3 spot. So I got Miami winning this one. They're going to be tied with Cleveland for the number 3 spot. It's going to be crazy what Eric Spoelstra's been doing, but I mean, that guy's a top 3 coach in the league, I feel at least. So yeah, I got the Heat beating the Kings. Then we got the Wizards facing off with the Thunder. This game's going to be the first one on TNT, on at 5 o'clock, 8 o'clock if you live on the East. I'm going to go with the Thunder in this one. The Wizards, they play, like when they play bad teams, they play down to their opponent, but when they play good teams, they play well, but I just think that the Thunder are going to be able to pull this one out. Paul George has been playing well, and so has Russell Westbrook, and then Carmelo Anthony's kind of found his little role with the Thunder, and I think that's helped him out too. So I got the Thunder winning that one. Then we got the Knicks facing off with the Nuggets. That's going to be a fun one to watch right there just because they're 2 young teams right here. Nuggets are playing at home. They have a good home record, so I'm going with the Nuggets in this one. I think Nikola Jokic is going to pick it up. He's been on a bit of a slump lately, so I think the Nuggets are going to play well and win this one. Then for the final game on TNT, we got the Minnesota Timberwolves facing off with the Golden State Warriors. I think Jimmy Butler's been out for a while. I think he's out. Or actually, I don't know. Maybe he's just been resting. But nonetheless, I'm not sure why he hasn't played the last couple of games. Got to double check it. But I'm going to go with the Warriors in this one. I mean, there's no reason to ever pick against them. So, yeah, I'm going with the Warriors. So, just to recap, I got the Kings beating the Heat, the Thunder beating the Wizards, the Nuggets beating the Knicks, and then the Warriors beating the Timberwolves. I'm going with all the home teams today. All right, so that's actually going to wrap it up for today's show. Talked about the NBA games from Wednesday first segment. Talked about Dez Bryant and the Cowboys in the second. We talked Kirk Cousins, Alex Smith, and Blake Bortles in the third segment. Talked about Case Keenum, too. That's the quarterback I was missing, just remembered. And then for this fourth one, we talked XFL. We talked Barry Bonds. We talked Manchester United, Arsenal a bit. And then we just made our picks. So thanks for listening to today's show. This is the GSMC Sports Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jesse Tapia. We'll be back tomorrow probably going to start our Super Bowl talk, getting ready for it. So stay tuned till tomorrow. We'll talk to you later. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.